and Rob are two young goalkeepers from Zimbabwe. Both were excelling in the youth team of Highlanders FC and showed great potential. Manager Baltimore Brito, who was the assistant manager to Jose Mourinho at Chelsea and Inter Milan, got in contact with clubs in Europe to circulate the boys' names. However, only Bob got a move, with Bayern Munich taking a punt on the 16-year-old. Rob, on the other hand, was left behind to play for Highlanders. Both players have a current ability of 75 out of 200, but their attributes have been randomised by the game, meaning Rob actually has an early advantage. Both players have unlimited potential ability, so who is going to go further and have the better career? Well, Bob is off to a slow start, making just 2 appearances for Bayern's under-19s team, but training alone has raised his current ability to 89. Rob, on the other hand, has only featured in 3 games for Highlanders, raising his current ability to 86. So on raw numbers, Bob is now the better player and is as good as his brother at shot stopping, but Rob still holds the advantage when it comes to aerial ability and distribution. The following season, Bob has only played another 2 games for Bayern's under-19s. On the other hand, Rob has ended up playing a lot more games for Highlanders. Their season runs from March to December, so when we started the video, we were midway through their 2023 season. When we visited the players last season, they were halfway through the 2024 season, where Rob had just taken the first team spot and ended up playing 25 games for Highlanders and 14 games so far in this new season. Fun fact about Highlanders, they were founded in 1926 by 2 members of the royal family. This makes them the oldest club in Zimbabwe and actually one of the oldest football clubs in the world. They also have a good history of developing wonderkids, which makes them a great fit for this video. Luton's Marvellous Nakamba started his career at Highlanders, and they currently have this kid called Prince Unlovu, who has a potential ability in this database of 145, but it could be as high as 160 in your database. I'm wearing their jersey right now thanks to Sangalo, who partner with football clubs around the world to sell their jerseys in markets they wouldn't ordinarily be able to reach. That means we get some very cool niche shirts, whilst also helping these clubs garner some extra income to help them run the club, and in this case, help the youth development. Sangalo currently have a sale on right now. The website is linked in the top line of the description, and you can go there to pick up some shirts this Black Friday for yourself or get them ready for some great Christmas presents. And Highlanders youth production line has worked well here, as Stoke swoop in to pick up the keeper, which is very weird for 2 reasons. Number 1, why have Stoke got scouts out in Zimbabwe? And number 2, we did this video with some strikers last week, and Stoke came in to pick up the kid from Laos. This is a completely different database to the one we used last week, so it's a really strange coincidence that Stoke are the team picking this guy up again. But all the game time has helped Rob develop his current ability to 112 compared to Bob's 106, and despite Bob training at Bayern Munich, Rob is the much better keeper at this stage. Although the game time does stop in Stoke, as he only makes 2 substitute appearances, but has now started playing for Zimbabwe's international team, which is way more than Bob, who's only made 2 appearances in friendlies for Bayern Munich this season and hasn't even been called up to the Zimbabwe youth team. I'm surprised neither of them have been sent out on loan this season, but it does suggest they are both on the cusp of being their club's number 1. And next season is certainly a breakout season for Rob, as he becomes Stoke's starting keeper in the Championship, helping them to a 4th place finish where they just miss out on automatic promotion and end up losing in the playoff semi-finals. But he might not be there long, as some big clubs are interested in the young keeper. Bob also had a breakout season, making 14 Bundesliga starts and helping his side to win the title ahead of Dortmund for trophy number 1. He also kept a clean sheet in the DFB Pokal final to help lift trophy number 2. And so by the end of the season, Rob now has a current ability of 152, making him as good as Emi Martinez. Bob, on the other hand, has a lower current ability at 141, but it's just as good as Jan Sommer at Inter Milan, who may well just be retiring. I wonder who will take his spot next season. That's right, Bob's brother Rob has gone to Inter Milan to replace Jan Sommer, to be their first choice keeper, as they finished 6 points behind AC Milan in the Serie A table. Rob also lost in the Coppa Italia final, losing on extra time to Bologna. So, although he got the nice move, it was a pretty painful season. I wonder if his old manager still had some links at Inter Milan and got him the move there. On the other hand, Bob played almost every single game for Bayern Munich this season, where obviously they won the league title again and the DFB Pokal final in extra time. So Bob now has a 4-0 lead when it comes to the trophy haul, even if his brother is still the better player in terms of communication, aerial ability and distribution. During Rob's second season, Inter fall down to 5th in the table, but Rob does keep a clean sheet in the Coppa Italia final to win it this season. And whilst his brother wins another Bundesliga, Bayern lose in the DFB Pokal second round to Nuremberg. But the biggest challenge is about to come, as for the first time in their careers, they are set to play against each other, as Bayern and Inter have been drawn in the same Club World Championship group. However, neither of them played in the match and didn't even make the bench. This is the first time in 6 seasons they've come up against each other and they didn't even play. I don't like this at all, although I would like it very much if you could like the video. The following season, it's another win in the league for Bayern Munich and Bob, which they made a double by winning the DFB Pokal to bring his trophy tally up to 7, whereas Rob finished in 2nd place in Serie A and lost the Europa League final to Tottenham Hotspur. Although Rob didn't play in the final. He fractured his finger in training just days before the game. So if he had played, I reckon they could have won it. At least he can take pride in being the 8th best footballer in the world, 2 positions ahead of his brother. It's a 5th Bundesliga in a row for Bob and a 4th DFB Pokal win. Surely at this stage he just must be bored of winning absolutely everything. However, he must be happy for his brother, who finally goes on to win a Serie A title with Inter Milan, but does end up losing another Coppa Italia final. And this season they finally played against each other in the Champions League phase. At least I'm assuming they do, because the game won't show me any of the match data other than the goal scorers. But Rob and Inter came out on top. I've actually not spoken about the Champions League campaigns yet because neither of these 2 teams have got past the quarterfinals of the Champions League yet. When they eventually do, I will talk about it, but a quarterfinal is nothing to shout about. Shock horror, it's another Bundesliga title for Bayern, and it's another DFB Pokal thanks to Bob making some crucial saves in a penalty shootout. Rob, on the other hand, has won his 2nd Serie A in a row, reaching 100 points with Inter, but they lose another Coppa Italia final 2-0 to Juventus. And at the end of season 10, it's another title for Bayern, who lost in the DFB Pokal semi-final, whereas Inter finish in 2nd place to AC Milan. At this stage, they are both the best players in the world with 199 out of 200 current ability. So with 2 keepers this good, surely Zimbabwe must be rotating them around to give them both game time. Well, not quite. They seem to much prefer Rob, who's got 63 caps, compared to the measly 10 caps that Bob has. Together they help them qualify for the World Cup for the very first time in 2030, as well as reach the quarterfinals of the African Cup of Nations. Now, maybe he's trying to do it to try and get some more game time for Zimbabwe, or maybe he got bored of winning everything at Bayern Munich and wanted more of a challenge. But Bob has moved clubs to PSG, the only team who can guarantee more trophies than Bayern Munich for £79 million. Now obviously they went on to win the league title, but they actually suffered a defeat in the French Cup 11th round. They also reached the Champions League semi-finals but ended up losing to AC Milan, who then lost the final to Man City. AC Milan also beat Inter Milan to the Serie A title, but at least this time Inter did win the Coppa Italia. In 2035, both brothers achieved the double. Bob and PSG win the league and the cup, whereas Rob wins the league and the Battle of the Brothers, as Inter get the better of PSG in the Champions League round of 16. Okay, it's not an actual trophy, but we need to make Rob feel better, because the following season Bob beats Rob in the Champions League semi-final, as his brother goes on to lift the Champions League trophy, fully justifying his move to PSG. They also won the league title and the French Cup to make it a treble. Rob, on the other hand, had to settle for 2nd place in Serie A, which must be painful when he is on paper the better of the 2 goalkeepers. They both have 200 out of 200 current ability, but clearly the areas where Rob is better than Bob is much more important to being a goalkeeper. So given he is the best goalkeeper in the world, he could go to any club he wanted. I only gave him 5 loyalties so he could move around different clubs, but for some reason he loves Inter and is going to stay there. Maybe he just doesn't like winning trophies. I guess he has more faith in his team than I do, because Inter go on to win the title next season, although it's not as good as PSG's double with the League and Coupe de France, where Bob picks up Player of the Match. PSG obviously did a double again next season, and normality returns in Italy as Inter drop back down to second place. Although they do win it again the following season as AC Milan drop down to 8th place, although it is overshadowed by PSG winning another treble, with Bob making saves in the Champions League final penalty shootout. Now at 33, the brothers are slowly starting to decline, and strangely enough, another keeper has gotten in between them when it comes to current ability. But this time, Inter dropped down to 5th in Serie A, only just qualifying for the Champions League. PSG do go on to win another League title, but they don't end up winning the cup. So have we seen the best of the two brothers, and will they now not win as many trophies as they did before? Well, PSG are always going to win the league title no matter what, but they did lose the Champions League semi-final 3-2 on aggregate to Inter Milan, with Bob dropping a 5.8 in the second leg, meaning that Rob was going to the final. And Rob won the final 2-1 in extra time. It is perfect that both brothers ended up winning the Champions League. Both keepers went on to win their respective league titles in 2042. But something wild happened in 2043. PSG fell to 4th in the table, meaning this is the first season since Bob became Bayern's first choice keeper that he hasn't won a league title. That is an insane record. But it hit him hard because after this season, he decides to retire. I mean, he is 36 years old, so he's getting towards retirement, but I like the idea that this is the ultimate throwing the toys out of the pram move. Rob also drops down the table with Inter, and perhaps in solidarity with his brother, he also retires. So let's assess their careers. The numbers on screen are just their league performances, so I've dug deeper for the record in all competitive games at club level. And Bob played 814 times, keeping a mental 414 clean sheets and only conceding 544 goals. Rob, on the other hand, played 937 games, keeping 421 clean sheets and conceding 737. As well as Bob's far superior trophy haul, it has to be said, Bob has had the better career. However, Rob did have to battle through Highlanders and Stoke and a less competitive Inter Milan team. So of course he was going to concede more goals than the easier ride that Bob had with Bayern and PSG. Rob also made over 100 caps for Zimbabwe, compared to just the 31 that Bob made, which is why I excluded international games from the stats. Zimbabwe didn't have a good time in this video, so including those would have wildly inflated Rob's goals conceded. So let me know down in the comment section who you think had the better career, and once you've done that, why don't you head over to the second channel, where I'm trying to rebuild Saint Etienne to get back into Ligue 1 and then eventually take down PSG as the champions of France.